Helen Brach was the wealthy widow of Frank Brach, the candy magnate behind the Brach's confections fortune. After her husband's death in 1970, Helen lived alone in the Chicago suburb of Glenview, Illinois. Known for her refined taste and charitable giving, Helen also developed a deep love for animals and became involved with equestrian circles. In the 1970s, she began spending large amounts of time and money on horses and related investments. On February 17, 1977, Helen visited the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. She checked out of her hotel that morning, and a chauffeur took her to the airport. That was the last confirmed sighting of her. When she failed to return to her Glenview home, friends and staff grew concerned. Her housekeeper reported her missing, prompting a police investigation. At first, there was little to go on. Helen's clothes and personal belongings were untouched in her home. Her bank accounts remained inactive. There was no ransom note, no body, and no sign of foul play. Rumors swirled. Some believed she had suffered a medical emergency while traveling. Others suspected something more sinister. Over the next several years, a troubling picture began to emerge. Helen had been involved with a group of unscrupulous horse traders, including Richard Bailey, a charismatic and well-connected man who sold her several horses. Investigators discovered that the horses she had purchased were drastically overpriced, and that Helen had begun questioning the value of her investments shortly before she disappeared. Richard Bailey was known in the horse world for wooing wealthy women and luring them into fraudulent deals. Multiple women later came forward describing similar experiences. In the early 1980s, federal investigators began piecing together a pattern of corruption in the equestrian business, including insurance fraud, horse killings, and money laundering. Helen's case became a central focus. Though Helen's body was never found, the theory developed that she had discovered Bailey and others were defrauding her and had threatened to go to authorities. In retaliation, she was murdered. One key informant, George Bodan, claimed that Helen had been murdered on the orders of Richard Bailey and that her body had been incinerated in a steel furnace used for disposing of horse remains. Another witness said Helen had been beaten to death in a stable. In 1994, after years of investigation, federal prosecutors charged Richard Bailey with multiple counts, including conspiracy and racketeering. While he was never charged directly with Helen's murder due to lack of physical evidence, he was indicted for soliciting her murder and for fraud related to her disappearance. In 1995, Bailey was convicted on 15 counts, including racketeering and fraud. The jury concluded he had played a role in Helen Brach's disappearance and death, even though her body was never recovered. He was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. The case of Helen Brach is officially classified as a homicide, though no one has been charged with the actual act of killing her. Her body has never been found.